Good day to you, good day. Thank you for joining in. I want to discuss 12 factors that have run through the world that has changed the world we knew. I want to point it out to you that this is a design. First factor that changed the world is killing the baby in the womb. And the way was paved for that in 1972. The International Medical Association changed the Oath of Hippocrates. Oath of Hippocrates said, we had to say it. I entered medical faculty in 1972. I'm Dr. Lalith Mendis, and my science talks. Now this is the 128th one, COVID Science, Digital Science, and if you need any of them, please send a WhatsApp message to +94 77 49 59 214. So as I said, in 1972, International Medical Association changed the Oath of Hippocrates, at least what we as doctors should read. We read it, where we entered in January of 1972, and the Oath of Hippocrates said, we had to say, as a medical officer, we will not help a woman to procure an abortion. But that changed in 1972, and it had dropped out of the doctor's confession. So point number one, when abortions are more than live births, then the world that was designed for families and babies, which is the future of the world, was completely distorted or destroyed really. Just to give you an example, in China, let's say for 1.2 billion, let's say 300 million households, for the last many years, from about 1985 to 2005, they had one baby policy, and they murdered the baby girl. As a result, many Chinese men have no women, they have to share, they have to bring from Mongolia or wherever. It's a tragic situation. So imagine 300 million babies destroyed just in one country for a year. So it's not mere conjecture that abortions may well be more than live births. Then the designer may say, why should world continue if the world is so hell-bent on destroying the child that I am glad to give? Whole society is based on children having a future. Secondly, when marriage is threatened with LGBTQ law, it is not about one person being gay, it is just about the law which criminalizes defense of the heterosexual marriage or definition of the heterosexual marriage. Recently, Hungary defined heterosexual marriages between man and woman, but in many countries it's a huge issue. So when family is God idea, and when families are being, what shall I say, decimated, what is that kind of world? Thirdly, when more live together rather than in marital lifelong covenant, and when many just break that covenant with premarital sex, extramarital sex, divorce and so on, I understand the tragedy of divorce. I'm just saying the trend when people just make easy relationships or breakable relationships, marriages of convenience, just contracts for financial, utility or whatever, that would not be how the designer designed it. Then fourthly, when the world's GDP since 1960, when 60% of the GDP was directed or consumed by 40%, which is not too bad, in fact quite okay. Now 99% of the GDP is consumed, directed, controlled, and profits earned only by 1%, and 99% of the world's population is on mere existence. What is that world? The fifth point is when more than half the kids are suffering either in pedophilia, malnutrition, viruses and vaccines destroying their immunity by plague. What is that world when a child has no future? In US alone, about 230 children disappear daily into different pedophilia gangs and gang activity. So they're quite wretched and terrible. You would agree with me. Then point number 6 I am looking at is when professionals who ought to be benefactors are in large numbers turning to be malefactors. You know, the professionals, the teachers, the doctors, nurses, lawyers, those who were shepherds to a nation, should have been shepherds to a nation, when increasing numbers are working contrary to the best interest of the client and the patient, brought up by big pharma or vaccine industry in my field, and in other fields also in different prejudicial interests that kills the profession. There are no more benefactors. In fact, they are fleas in the flock. What if more than 50% are up to it? What would God the Good Shepherd look at it and say? So I'm talking in the context of God being shepherd. Now some of you listening may not agree with me on that, but bear up with me because the facts will be the same, though the explanation that I may deduce or the solution I may offer may be a little different from what you think is the solution, but facts are the same. As they say, facts are stubborn. Then point number 7, when viruses and vaccines are planned and to annihilate 50%, and health industry is a money-making big project for profit alone with people's health at stake, what would that be? Can that society go on? 8th point, when food manipulation harms health and causes famine, agrochemicals and all that, and the genetic modulation of food, how much it affects our own genome, we do not know. And that bovine, spongiform bovine encephalitis or mad cow disease was a result of genetically modifying the corn genome. And that modified corn genome got into the cow's brain and produced a atypical protein called the prion. And when that was eaten by human beings, they also got the mad cow disease. So already we have grievous experience of genomes as they were delivered by a wise designer being mixed up with the genomes of other species, how wrong it can go. Yes. Point number 9, when global oligarchs want to take over more than 50% of the nation's economies and drive the nations according to their diktat of money, lending and so on, and people become just slaves in a pharaoh-held society, how would the designer look at it? How would he think about it when global oligarchs are really pitching into and claiming their profit? Number 10, when courts corrupt justice, working for the oppressor, working for the working for the oppressor rather than for the victim, then where can people go? So the global courts, national courts, even they increasingly become corrupt and work only for power and for the powerful. So we can see it's a kind of holocaust. Point number 11, now bear with me, I'm not just drawing up a gloom-doom picture. I'm just giving you reality. Don't run from it. This is the world man made with science, yes. When science became God, power, money, finances, profit was king, here we are. Point number 11, when goats overrun most nations and lambs are led to the slaughter. Now goats are those who entangle with their horns and they, that kind of thing is what I mean by goats overrun nations and lambs are led to the slaughter. Final point, when consumerism makes food scarce, and the whole Keynesian economics, that is John Maynard Keynes, who said drive the demand and supply will come and you can have everlasting market growth kind of theory working from 1960. So world's main industries are not food but armament, motor industry, pharmaceuticals, fashion, cosmetics, toys, the stuff. When consumerism makes food scarce and luxuries abound. So into this scenario, I want to pitch this desperate plea. See, look at the home. This may be quite germane to our own country, Sri Lanka. After the school system is largely buttressed or surpassed, usurped by the tuition system. So you have a home, you have a family life where a child goes to school and he doesn't come home, or he comes to a latchkey home where only the key is there. Parents are busy in their own pursuit, initially not wickedly, so to say, but to have to work to get our second home or get our second car. Both have to work to live that kind of life we want to live. Then children become appendages. Children are now, when they have tuition in the evening, it's much easier. So the whole tuition industry takes the child out of home, longer hours, okay, with no supervision. Please hear me through. And then parents are happy, are eased, that they don't have to mind the child. Now, the child may be 12 years old, younger, or the child may be 18 years old. They are happy that they don't have to mind the child. And then in many homes, the mother gets involved in this tuition thing. And then she gets into trouble because she meets men. And then some, to buttress the family income and to get what they cannot sustain with their meager income, with the husband earning, and for fashion and other things, she gets enticed. So every road, almost every road, no, maybe it's too much, many roads in the city of Colombo, let's say 1 in 3, will have a R&R room open all the time. And you know what's happening in those. And when mothers are often on the road for this and that, they get into trouble. And then when the tuition life and tutories are on, many girls get into relationships where they want money for things that parents will not give money for. Little bit of Q-Tex, lipstick, glitter. Now I'm talking about the average low-income, middle-income groups. And they have to get it from the boyfriend, and boyfriend gives it not without cost. So every tutory town like Jayala or Kurunegala or Bandaravilla, any main city, where there is the tutories are thickest, they will also have abortion centers. And I have a doctor friend in Bandaravilla, he said to my surprise, the condoms are more sold in pharmacies on the day that there are tuition classes for A-level students. This is Bandaravilla, I'll repeat it. Condoms are more sold from pharmacies or other shops in the town of Bandaravilla is on the day A-level tuition classes are on. So the city has spread, and every city is city, as you know. The point I'm making is the tuition world has created a third force. It is stronger than family, it is stronger than normal school, and in normal school, when the best teachers don't give their best and indicate that you have to come to the tuition class to get the best questionnaires, then it's another needy profession that has gone corrupt. Benefactors have become malefactors. I mentioned at the beginning, this has happened to the medical profession and legal profession. So I gave you 12 points on which the Good Shepherd's intention for just society, benevolent society, benefactors looking after next generation and kids, benefactors in work, all that is violated. So now only profit is king at any cost, anyhow, somehow. So this is the picture I have drawn, and I want to get on to the consequence on the child, next generation, of this. So here are 7 features of the next generation, how they are getting on with this kind of pressure. I have given many lectures and talks. I have written extensively on the effect of the pixel screen, digital screen, whatever the program is, how the digital screen has an effect on the kid. I have done long lectures, so this is my 128th clip on science and reason, COVID science, digital science, happy hour, brain bright. I have done most in English language and quite a number, almost a good 60% in the single language, and very few, 4 or 5, English to Tamil also I have. So if you need any particular subject area, you have to tell me, send me a WhatsApp to +94 77 49 59 214. I'm Dr. Lalith Mendis. I live in Colombo, Sri Lanka. My last substantive post was as head of Department of Pharmacology in a state medical faculty. That's why on the COVID issue, I have spoken widely on the pharmacological aspects. But here we are. What happened to the home and what happened to the next generation because of this distortion, wrong orientation of society. Here let me pick up the point. There is a generation who curse their father and who do not bless their mother. So the fracture is mainly with dad, but it has an effect with the father also. Now we know for long, father being absent, aggressive, or absconding, you know what I mean is that he thought career is first. So I strongly plead with fathers, make 7 p.m. the happy family hour. Please, when you come home, knock off your digital gadget, and at least if you can redeem 1 hour, 7 to 8 or 8 to 9. If you can redeem 2 hours, you are a hero dad for family. And now mothers have come under the same strain of having to do their career beyond livelihood, beyond earning career, and the corporate kudos and perks and positions and the glamour have really corroded the family values. So here it is, the effect is the generation who curses father, that is he's very rude, reckless, he just has no respect at all, and mother just barely gets by. Then there's a generation who's pure in his own eyes, not washed from his filthiness. That is, they think anything is consumable. Sex at 12, 13, 14, any kind of sex, no waiting, and the HPV vaccine provides for safety and all that kind of stuff, and I explained earlier, for middle income or low income girls, having a boyfriend is the way they get their fashion stuff. And I told you that in many tutory cities, there are abortion clinics freely functioning. Though abortion is illegal in Sri Lanka, abortions do happen. And in the town of Kurunegala, lots of train go through to Kurunegala. So even from Nuwara, students come for tuition to Kurunegala. This is what our research showed. And if you go through Kurunegala town, byways and alleys, you'll see all kinds of tutories and tuition classes. And Kurunegala has the highest incidence of first detection HIV among males from 17 to 24. Yeah, Kurunegala. So that's the effect of all this stuff. So this consuming anything and everything and thinking nothing is unclean has got into this generation. Now look, I'm not talking down. This one I'm actually speaking to parents. I have done things that are very student friendly. So if you want something for student, I have done this for Horizon College, I have done it for my own school, St. Thomas's. I have things that are very student friendly. Just send me a WhatsApp to that number that will run on, saying please send a digital science thing for student friendly. This I'm speaking to dad and mom, okay? So there is a generation who did not think anything is no-go, anything is not beyond the limit. Sadly, that generation is now on. Then there's a generation, how lofty are their eyes, and their eyelids are raised in arrogance. So they lift up their eyes in arrogance, they think they know everything, and they don't take no for answer, they try anything that they can get into fisticuffs with adults. So that I know everything, don't try to tell me kind of thing. They often say bored, and they make very adult kind of conversation. And what happens is, without the effort, they try to get there without the effort. Now we all wanted to get there, But without the effort, they pitch a target and goal, and they'll blame everybody else for not getting it. And it is very difficult to correct them. You might have found them in your work field. The senior has to ask them for the report, or senior has to remind them all the time. They don't think they're accountable. So that is one effect of the pixel screen, how it connects up neurologically, neuroscientifically, neurochemically. You'll have to ask from me for a digital clip on the subject. I'm on this point of, I think there's the father-mother fracture, then anything goes, consuming anything. Third one, the eyelids are pitched up at goals higher than they can get. It's always the fantastic. What they do not have is what they want to get. And always there is a thing of not enough. It was not enough. It was not done enough for me, and so on. So at this point, I want to put this into you. A kid's basic existence, for that matter, our basic existence, is in the spirit that God sent with the God scope. Then we operate with our conscience, which is our umpire. Now, if we match fix our conscience, that means when it is okay for me, it's okay, but it's not okay for someone else. So that's probably the conscience. We can do some match fixing with the conscience, which is a great help. But I mean, the conscience is a great help, because conscience and the heart is the seat of desire. Now, desire is to be directed well. That's where ambition is. That's where affection is, what you want for yourself. It's a conscience, the umpire, that says, not that way, but this way. It's a conscience that says, where another's liberty begins, your right stops, so you understand. So if your conscience is match fixed, you know what match fixing is. It will always give the thumbs up for you. So you need to be careful of that. Then from there, you have imagination projecting to the future, connecting with the temporal lobe, and you have memory connecting to the amygdala, hippocampus and hypothalamus, the drives that come from the far past. So you can have kids, or for that matter adults, who are driven from the past, good, bad or ugly, and who are pulled by their imagination. Now, as I said, I talk with God included. Now, imagination is fine. Artists must have imagination. Photography has imagination. You know, fashion designers have imagination. What older people said, right brain, okay? And the more left brain kind of chap, the management, mathematical chap. It describes the difference well enough, but there are more technically right ways of describing the two kinds, and how the two meet also can be discussed. So we have spirit, conscience, the umpire, don't match fix the fellow. And then we have heart, the desire center. It's quite a pulsating center. That's where life comes from. Spirit keeps us God conscious. Heart keeps us conscious. That's okay. But if that spirit keeps us God conscious, which is our future, which is our best scope, then we have our umpire, the conscious. Then we have our imagination, which is driven by the temporal lobe. Nothing wrong in that. But if kids are always into sci-fi, fantastic, then then it becomes distorted. They live in sci-fi, fantasy, unreality. So they don't get down to the effort of real things. They are just imagining, going nowhere. And they can be quite addicted to that kind of stuff. And it can become bottom-up regulation all the time, the stimulation coming from what they have read here and there. Whereas they must do top-down regulation, executive, empathic, initiation, navigation, planned doing, successful conclusion, well done, reward motive. The imagination, when it runs, ahead of the doable, you don't get satisfaction. You get a child who's always thinking things and changing hobbies and changing courses and so on. As you know, by the time they're 18 years old, they must get on to their tertiary education, and then they must not keep shifting. From 18 to 24, it must be a straight course, what kind of career you will get into. I have done a full 45-minute talk on this. If you want it, please say career guidance and send me a WhatsApp. So this is imagination. And then there is the memory, the amygdala can play up. So bitter memories can all the time come. Then it becomes post-traumatic stress disorder. The last bad thing that happened 1 year ago still playing on you, even in your dreams. So then again, I have another topic, sleep. How to have your best sleep is a different topic. So when you get to sleep, you must have your best sleep, and REM and REM cycles turning around, and you wake up in the morning refreshed, ready for the day, gratitude to God and wife and husband and whatever you have, and then ready to take on what you next have to take on. I did, my last English talk was on 12 health systems. I think it's 126. You need to go through that. 12 health systems. It's spoken of in layman's language, though it has science stuff, how to keep your sleep-awake system, immune system, immune inflammatory system, in COVID times, it will give you a good scientific understanding also about what goes on. So I have deviated a little. I have to get back now. So imagination and memory. Amygdala is memory, temporal lobe is imagination, projecting to the future, okay? Then of course you have the emotions. All this play up or adaptive emotions. And then you have your cognition, this big brain, the computer. Only thing it works with neurons, cells, and with neurochemistry. I've done a full talk on 7 juices in the body, neurochemical juices, what they do, melatonin, GABA, and so on. So whatever topics you need, send me a WhatsApp with the specific thing. No charges, yes. But we are getting back to kids. You remember 7 attitudes that have formed this generation because the elders went wrong, or elders fashioned society, engineered society in a certain way. Kids who are growing up now is getting engineered, molded in that way. So no care for parents, and they think they can consume anything and get away. No sense of morals. 3, they get very pitch their eyes too high, not doable but the imagination. Then 4thly, the generation whose teeth are like swords and jaw teeth like knives. So they are very rude and reckless with their words. You would have observed that. Then 5thly, they devour the afflicted from the earth and needy from among men. They have power, Power has got into them. It's easy to trace the source because a digital game is all about power. Whether you kill people or shoot birds or whatever, it's a power thing. And every platform ascension is a power thing. Their language is power language. Yeah. So their dress and their shoes also have to have power. So that is now we thought power when we were a CEO. They think power at the age of 14. So 14 is a very important threshold, and recent research shows that memory cells don't grow beyond 14. So up to the age of 14, you must get your child doing well with the things that will promote memory, grips and ropes and everything else. So pixel screen ruins memory. This is medical advice. Under the age of 3, don't give the pixel screen at all to a child. This is medical advice, yes. You'll scramble their speech. So to my Empathic Learning Center, where I see kids, Colombo Empathic Learning Center at 374 Leslie Ranagala Mabatta, you have to just send a WhatsApp and check with me on that. The most number come with speech scramble because of the pixel screen. Some come with appetite change, some come with sleep disturb, and others with learning difficulties. Most come with speech scramble. And it shows up only at the age of 6 or 7. Reason? Too much screen as a baby. Yeah. 6th one, the leech has 2 daughters. Give. There are 3 things that will not be satisfied. So this generation will keep, it's difficult to satisfy them. They ask for different things. So you need to coach. Dad has to show them the next step and the next stretch and the boundary. the dad has to really do that. Mother makes it internally safe. So it is science that in the first 3 years, mother's bonding, even in the brain, makes brain brilliant. But then dad has to be, of course, dad has to be there from the beginning, but certainly after the age of 3, dad has to take over increasingly to show the next step and the next stretch. So when mother is absent, children are internally insecure with intimacy. But when dad is absent, they're externally insecure. They have no confidence to face up to jobs or changing situations or whatever. So that's the 6th thing about not enough, not enough. Then the 7th thing is the eye that mocks a father and scorns a mother. That is an eye that has lost sense of the best for themselves. They become self-destructive, self-sabotage. Let your child never go there, let your grandchild never go there. But that 3rd stage is they have lost eyesight, so to say, vision for that which is best. They all the time get into that which is self-destructive. So we don't want any child to go there. I hope this was helpful. I'm just wondering whether I should add one final thing to what I have said so far. No, I think I'll stop here. Thank you for listening.